Today we're going to talk about the Pokemon Tabletop RPG, Pokemon Tabletop United, and we're going to see if it's a game that you might want to bring to your table. Pokemon. A beloved franchise by millions of people around the world for these long years. And over these long years, we've had many things based on Pokemon. Toys, clothing options for all ages, a wildly popular card game that I myself have enjoyed over the years off and on, and of course, the video games. I remember playing this when I was a child and still play it even to this day. But over these years, there's one thing we haven't had an official product of, and that is a tabletop role-playing game based in the world of Pokemon. But fear not, for a group of people have fixed this problem for us. Hello gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I'm Brian, your Game Master. And today we're going to talk about the Pokemon Tabletop RPG, Pokemon Tabletop United. In the description box below, I've put a link to the creator's website where you can go and download the PDF that we're going to go over here in just a moment for yourselves, free of charge. It's community made. I believe it to be a very well done product, but we're going to talk about just like a general overview today. We're not going to go really into too much detail on the nuts and bolts. We're just going to talk about some of the chapters, some of the content of the book. I'm going to give you some of the thoughts that I've had playing this game for probably going on a year now, off and on with my group. I have been working a lot on making content for that game with my group. So I've got quite a bit of experience. I'm in no means a master. The book is very lengthy. It's 508 pages. It's just the core rulebook. That does not include the Pokédex. You will find the Pokédex there. They also have the Gen 7, the Alola Dex, and Gen 8, the Galar Dex, along with the Isle of Armor DLC supplement with it as well. So you've got rules in there for Kubfu and Urshifu and all the Pokemon that are in the Galar Dex, which is really great. Sprite-wise, you're going to have to, if you want to use the sprites in your game, you're going to have to find them on your own. But we're going to talk about all of that kind of toward the end as I give you the recap. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright gamers, so here we are. Pokemon Tabletop United version 1.05. This is the current version of the core rules that they have on there. As of, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when I was looking. They don't do updates very often unless it's for like new game content like Gen 8 and its DLCs. But let's go ahead and get into it. So as you can see, the book itself, like I said, is 508 pages. It's pretty lengthy. There's a lot of stuff in here for players and for GMs. A lot of stuff that you're going to want to know, but a lot of stuff that you can just kind of have open on your tablet or your laptop to be able to look up in between turns or in downtime. So just the credits, right? You're going to want to, if you want to support this project, make sure you give these people here some love on this. There's even links to, at the bottom here, the different websites regarding this project. So the table of contents, as you can see, is 3 pages long. So page 6, page 5, actually it's 4 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lots of stuff in here. And each one of these links is clickable. So if I wanted to go to, say, fighting moves, take me right to fighting moves. All right. So Chapter 1 just gives you the basic introduction, kind of going over what is PTU versus PTA. Read through this section. This is like the sister system to Pokemon Tabletop Adventures, which I've played as well. If you're interested in that, you can go to the links on the credits page, take you there, and you can learn about those. So you can decide which version of the game you want to play. My party and I, we've just decided to use this particular version. So this page here is going to talk about, there's some supplements that they've made that you can download as well. This section here is going to talk about those different supplements. This section here is pretty cool. So, like, what is Pokemon? Talks about what are trainers, Pokemon League, post-league challenges, Law and Order, all the kind of stuff that would go into a game. One of the things you're going to want to realize that this is not playing the video game in tabletop. It's like other games that are taken from other inspiration or other sources. You play this like a role-playing game, just like you would like Dungeons and Dragons, anything else. You can do a lot with it. Your GMs are kind of free to use this setting as they see fit. There's a huge section on that as well. We'll touch on when we get there. Regarding that, just know that you kind of like the sky's the limit when it comes to playing this game and what you want to do, depending upon what kind of game the GM wants to run. Chapter 2 talks about character creation. There's a whole section on building your character, just like most other RPGs, how to build your character, stat points, skills, ranks of stuff, all that kind of stuff. Step 5, assigning your different combat stats. The game does use the 6 stats from Pokemon, so speed, special defense, special attack, and HP. So any of you that have played Pokemon before might feel kind of right at home understanding what each of those does. If not, there's detailed explanations here and later in the book as well. You have your derived stats here, like your overland speed, swim, jump height, things like that. One thing to note, throwing range. So throwing Pokeballs to catch Pokemon. Also, when you want to release Pokemon, you can throw out the Pokeball out to your range. Put the Pokemon there. It doesn't always have to be right next to you. It gives you a quick step guide right here to the different steps. Then also, as you advance in trainer level, this is one of the things, maybe I'd like to do a video of like what I would do with Pokemon games. I would like to see something like this implemented to where your trainer gains levels and experience and gains abilities and skills and feats and edges and things like that. This is going to talk about what you gain at odd and even levels, and then certain milestones as you level up give you additional bonuses on top of what you would normally gain for said odd or even level. This is also a chart in detailing that, so it makes it quick and easy. It tells you how many of each feature and edge you should have, stat points, things like that. It goes all the way to 50 for trainers. Tips for new players, which is great. Those new players coming into this game kind of give this a quick run through. It's got some pretty cool stuff in there. This talks about trainer archetypes. So if you want to play like an Ash character, or if you want to maybe be like an aspiring gym leader, it gives you some ideas on building your character or kind of where to start with building your character. Some of the features and things to take and classes to take, which is really cool. Or you can just you can do whatever you want. You don't have to take an archetype. Build your own character. Like I said, sky's the limit. We're going to go into Chapter 3. Chapter 3 goes over skills, edges, and features. Pretty much the nuts and bolts of your character. Skills, obviously like most other like D&D type games, Mutants and Masterminds, you have skills. They have certain ranks. Obviously, the higher the rank, the better you are with said skill. This uses a D6 system. It's reminiscent of, I want to say, the West End Games Star Wars game where it's D6s. So like you're rank 4, right? Adept in a skill, you would be rolling 4d6. And then it goes all the way up to master of a skill to 6d6, which is really cool for those of you that like throwing a lot of dice. This is just going to detail each individual skill. And then in this box below, there's going to be some edges that are kind of based on that particular skill. As an example, intimidating presence, you would need novice level of intimidate, which is 3d6 or more. Then you yourself learn the move Leer as a trainer. So as a trainer, you can use that. Caveat to that, there are rules talking about league sanctioned battles versus non-league sanctioned battles. In league sanctioned battles, trainers using moves like Leer or Karate Chop or whatever are frowned upon. They're not really legal. But if you're out in the wild and some bandits show up, bandits are going to try to attack you as a trainer to either steal from you or incapacitate you. You're more than willing to use moves and things like that you can as well. So wild battles are kind of like a free-for-all. This starts the edges, different kinds of edges. You have skill edges, crafting edges, Pokemon training edges. combat edges for like if you want to make like a martial artist type trainer and you train like say like fighting type Pokemon, you can learn moves like fighting type moves. Like as an example, basic martial arts, you have 3d6 or novice combat. You learn Rock Smash. You can learn features from classes later that allow you to teach that move to your Pokemon, which is pretty cool. So, and then other features. Now this starts just like talking about the features themselves and kind of how to read the stat block. As an example, it gives you Ace Trainer here. It's going to tell you what each thing means. It's all bolded. It's really well done right here. It's easy to reference, easy to see. And it talks about tags. You're going to want to read through this. I don't really want to go into it right now. But each feature may have certain tags that mean certain things. Some features might even give you bonus stats. Like as an example, I say something has like plus speed. If you take a feature with a plus speed tag, you get +1 to your speed stats, so you go higher in the initiative order. Okay. General features, Pokemon orders and training, so you can like train your Pokemon. So instead of just having to do it out in the wild fighting stuff, you can each morning you can train up to X amount of Pokemon, and you can give them a certain amount of experience. So you get extra XP to train certain Pokemon to help them all kind of level up. Then you've got orders that you can use in battle. Now orders are one of those things in gym battles or like league sanctioned battles. Orders are normally okay to use. Some of them may say specifically not to, or that it might not be legal. You would always want to confer with your GM whether something is legal or not before you attempt to use it in a league sanctioned battle. Chapter 4, we're going to talk about trainer classes. Trainer classes, there's quite a plethora of classes. Like you've seen in like the different Pokemon games, you could be a psychic, you could be a martial artist, a ace trainer, a duelist, a breeder, a fashionista if you like Pokemon contests. You can build your character kind of however you want. It's just you really got to plan out your line. You start at level 1, you can get to level 50. You're going to want to plan out what am I going to need to take to be able to get to what I need, and you're going to be able to look at this ahead of time. So we're not going to dive too much into the classes. Just know that when you can take up to 4 classes total as a trainer throughout your career up to level 50. And like as an example, Ace Trainer, when you want to buy Ace Trainer, you need to have Novice Command. So you need to at least have rank 3 or 3d6 of Command. You spend one of your features that you're given, either at the beginning of the game at level 1 or as you're leveling up, to purchase the one in the box. You purchase Ace Trainer, and then you see that all the other ones below require Ace Trainer or Elite Trainer. So you kind of like go through and purchase what you want if you have the prerequisites to do so. There's a huge amount of classes to go through. You will spend probably several hours here flipping through and reading through this and really getting some inspiration on your character. All right, so now we're at Chapter 5. We're 200 pages in. Like I said, I skipped through a bunch of like all the trainer classes. There's like almost like 100 pages worth of that stuff. You're going to read that at your own leisure. This talks about Pokemon. Obviously, the maximum you can carry is a maximum of 6. One of the things it will eventually talk about is like how you handle extra Pokemon that you catch. In my game that I'm running, I do the whole PC method. You catch a Pokemon, I give the trainer right then and there the option to switch, put something from their belt in the PC to keep the new Pokemon, or they can just go right into the PC, and then they can access it from different places. Pokemon centers and other places that I have set up that allows them to basically communicate with my professor in my world to be able to retrieve their Pokemon that they wish. This is going to obviously, this is a page from the Pokedex PDF that you're going to download. This is Charmander. This is all of his stats, his moves, TMs, HMs that he can learn, his egg moves, tutor moves. Don't really worry about too much of that. As you read through it, you'll understand how all that works. And then like this is like how it evolves. There is no trading to evolve just because it would be too easy to game, right? You're like my party has there's 4 people. Say they have one guy has a Machoke. If he wanted to get him a champ, he can just be like, hey, dude, trade me right quick. They swap it, boop, evolves, swap it back. What they've done for those kind of Pokemon is give them either a certain level they need to attain or a certain kind of stone or some other kind of prerequisite to get them to evolve to that last evolution instead of doing a trade. Obviously, it talks about all the different stat blocks on that sheet. Talks about managing your Pokemon here. This talks about statting Pokemon. Obviously, if you guys want me to do a deep dive on this, we're gonna talk about how you can get me to do that toward the end. But just know, like, when you catch Pokemon, your GM is either going to stat it, or they may let you stat it, like distribute the points however you want based on the base relation. It does have a chart detailing natures, so natures are in the game, which is really good. Allows you to the GM can either game it by giving you a good nature on a particular Pokemon that would be good, like, competitively, or what I do sometimes, like just like a wild encounter, I'll randomize it. Something that's a special attacker might end up as minus special attack plus attack. It's one of those things your GM is free to do with it however they want. Talks about the different abilities, at what levels they gain the abilities, 20 and then 40. Talks about the different moves, like how many moves they can have, how many TM or HM moves and tutor moves they can have. Goes into a lot of detail on the skills and, like, leveling up, evolving Pokemon. The Pokemon XP chart, they can go up to level 100 just like they do in the games. There's a section of Poke Edges. You can teach your Pokemon specific edges that give them specific bonuses depending upon what edge you take. You're going to want to read the section on how they can learn those edges and what it costs. It makes a note here about Mega Evolution. If you guys played Gen 6, like X and Y, they introduced Mega Evolution. This is something that the GM would want to look at and make a decision if they want to bring that into the game or not. It gives you sample builds of, like, a Venusaur, offensive tank build, sweeper build, disabler build, mixed attacker. It just kind of gives you examples of how to build them for that particular kind of role. If you're played Pokemon for a long time, a lot of this stuff may be like, okay, I understand this. I know kind of how to do it. Newer players maybe coming in, they're maybe just kind of like passively like Pokemon, but like RPGs, want to get in. This is a really good section to look at for players and for GMs alike as well. Talks about your loyalty. Loyalty is a big thing. I use this in my game quite a bit. Obviously, if you just catch a Pokemon out in the wild, kind of like you do in the games, they're kind of like neutral, right? You throw them out, they're like, okay, whatever, I'll fight for you. But then sometimes you can do stuff to make them upset, reduce their loyalty. I have a really cool story on one of the Pokemon that I gave one of my players. I gave it a low loyalty to start out with, and he had to work to earn its trust and to get it to like him before it would get to a point where he didn't have to make a skill test in order to get it to do what he wanted to. If you want to hear that story, let me know. Changing loyalty, then it goes into breeding Pokemon, talks about capturing Pokemon. Capturing Pokemon, obviously it's a Pokemon game, right? Big part of the game. Read this. There was even some stuff that I was missing for a little bit. One of the things that's cool is, like, your capture rate. What it uses a D100. So you have to hit it with the Pokeball. Once you hit it with the Pokeball, you're going to roll a D100. And it's going to give you an equation on what you have to roll equal to or lower than to be able to catch said Pokemon. One of the things I like is, as your trainer level increases, you always get to subtract your trainer level from your roll. As an example, say you're catching a Pikachu. You need, based on the equation, like a 50 or less to catch it. You roll like a 55 and say you're trainer level 6. You reduce 6 from that roll. Now you're 49 and you catch it. Cool. Also, if you roll a critical hit with the Pokeball, so it uses a D20 system to make checks. You roll a 20 on that, which would be a critical in, say, Dungeons & Dragons or other games that use it. That gives you additional bonuses, gives you minus 10 on top of that as well. So really read through this. Make sure you understand this. GMs out there, make sure you understand this, because obviously with a Pokemon game, capturing Pokemon with Pokeballs is going to be a big part of the game. Potentially. It's up to you. You could have players acquire Pokemon however you want, but a lot of people kind of like some of the aspects of the video game. This is really going to be important for you. It even goes into Pokemon fossils, talks about fishing, how fishing works, because fishing is a big part of Pokemon games, right? You fish to get certain water-type Pokemon. Really learn this right here. It's actually pretty cool. I make like little charts. Like they go into like an area and there's like a pond, or maybe they're out at a dock. They hook a Pokemon. I've got like a little chart of what they could potentially catch. I let them roll. You Magikarp, or Staryu, or Squirtle, or whatever you want to come up with. So the fishing is a really cool way to get extra Pokemon. Obviously, once you reel it in, you got to battle it, to be able to catch it. Talks about Pokemon as mounts. One of my players is really using this. He's taken the Rider class, which he's able to basically increase the movement speed of his mounts, and he can do special thing with him. He can ride him in combat, things like that. Once they kind of get Pokemon that they can ride, the game kind of opens up. They can move a lot faster. Pokemon maybe not tire as much, right? They have better stats, better athletics or whatever. So keep this in mind as you're handing out Pokemon with mount capabilities. Even large Pokemon can take multiple trainers on it, and multiple trainers can ride it around. So just keep that in mind as well. Next, we're going to talk about playing the game. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is going to go over the fundamentals of the game, right? What you need to do to play the game. Skill checks, how stats work, success, opposed checks, the use of action points. This is a section you're really going to want to dig in and read. Make sure you understand how the game is played. Obviously, your GM should read through this pretty well, have a decent understanding of it, and then can kind of help those newer players that are maybe coming into the game. Talks about capabilities, goes into detail, because earlier it talks about how to derive those different capabilities based on your stats. This just kind of goes into detail on it. There's a section for tips for players about Pokemon and things like that. Talk to your GM is a big one. Every game has this, right? You want to do something or you want something. Talk to your GM, work something out story-wise or a cool event. Next, we're going to talk about combat. Combat is, how do I want to put it? Combat can be lengthy. If you've got a large party, so I have a party of 4 players. They run into a group of wild Pokemon and they want to battle them to try to catch them. They've got 4 Pokemon, because I don't let them have one active Pokemon unless they have a class that allows them to use 2 Pokemon at once. So the 4 Pokemon have turns, the 4 trainers have turns. Say you've got 4 wild Pokemon have turns. You got 12 turns. And then if the players switch Pokemon, then you've got to keep adjusting the track. But the combat is really cool. It's the moves. We're going to go into the move section here in a little bit. We won't dive deep into the moves. I'll just kind of show you a few moves and kind of what it means and how to deal damage and talk about stab. That same type attack bonus, which I'll talk about later. But really read through this. Talks about the different action types. Talks about commanding Pokemon, which is super important for a Pokemon game. Switching Pokemon. There's this cool little flowchart right here. So, you're ready to switch, right? It talks about, is it a league battle? You're training at a gym, or maybe you're fighting in the championship, or you're fighting another trainer and agree to use league-sanctioned rules. You follow this section. If you're out in the wild and willy-nilly, you just follow the flowchart to see if you switch or recall a Pokemon and put a new one out. Can you use it that turn or no? Then it talks about, there's an example of a league battle and a full contact battle, so a wild trainer battle. Then it goes into movement. Talks about different types of terrain. So a lot of games have rough terrain or difficult terrain. This one uses slow terrain, blocking terrain, things like that. Really read through this because there's some abilities that allow you to create rough terrain or blocking terrain. A good example is the barrier move that Pokemon can learn. You can put up to 4 sections of walls basically blocking terrain anywhere within a range. And they have to be adjacent, make a big wall of it. How does blocking terrain work? You're going to want to understand the nuances of that. Then it goes into talk about flanking. It gives some really cool diagrams and pictures. Then talks about your combat stats, your derived stats. We kind of talked about stats earlier. Just kind of take a look through that. Combat stages are an important part of Pokemon games. A lot of moves gives bonus combat stages. A lot of moves gives you negative combat stages. It gives you a multiplier, either positive or negative, based on either your positive or negative stage. You can get pretty powerful. You can get +4. It's 1.8 times that stat. So that's pretty strong if you're able to buff that up. Talks about making attacks. The game uses rolled damage, and it looks kind of weird. So say you've got like a move with like a base damage of 10. It's going to be 3d8 plus 10. Then it'll be plus either your attack or your special attack based on if the move is a physical attack or special attack. Example, Brick Break, physical attack. You would add your attack stat total to the 3d8 plus 10. Or Psybeam is a special attack. You would add your special attack to the same thing. So you would roll that, roll the 3d8 plus 10 plus then your derived stat. Really look at the damage formula up here as well. This is pretty important. There's a lot of stuff going on because you can get damage reduction, say from like defense curl, I believe. Like you curl up, you get damage reduction, or the different types of plates. Like fighting plate gives you bonus to fighting damage, and it gives you resistance to fighting damage. You apply damage reduction before you do weaknesses and resistances. Yes, the game does do weaknesses and resistances as well. And then right here, the next page gives you the type effectiveness chart. What I would definitely do for GMs, I would either, because I use Roll20 right now because of the current state of the world that we're in, right? My friends and I don't gather in person, so we use Roll20. I just clipped this, made a handout in Roll20, and then I just gave them the handout so they can open and look at it whenever they want. You don't need to know everything on this. Just know, you're like, okay, I'm a fighting Pokemon. I'm going to use a fighting move against that dark. Fighting against dark. Right? Fighting against dark. Looks like it's super effective. Talk about struggle attacks. Like everybody has a struggle attack. That'll be on their character sheet as well that they'll fill out. Even trainers can make struggle attacks. So if your trainers have nothing else to do during like a full contact wild battle, get in there and struggle if you feel like your character's strong enough. If you've built them that way, it's like an offensive fighter. Different combat maneuvers, a lot of like other games, disarming, opportunity attacks, trips, that kind of stuff. You're going to want to read through this because some Pokemon moves gives you these abilities or lets Pokemon do these with bonuses and buffs. Let's see. Status afflictions. So you've got all your normal status afflictions. Burn, frozen, paralyzed, poison, bad poison, sleep, confuse. All the stuff you'd find in the game has made its way in here. Really well done. The rules are very concise on how each one works and how to get rid of them. And then obviously there's items that let you to get rid of specific status afflictions, which is great. You're always going to want to have a couple of those in your pocket or your bag. There's a whole section on Pokemon contests. If you guys are into that, read through this. I've just introduced these in my games because I got a couple of players that are kind of going into those kind of specialties with their classes, like Fashionista and things like that. It's really good to get additional XP and rewards for your players. So if they're into that, make sure you try to include it. Next, we're going to go to Chapter 9. This is the whole section on gear and items. Everything from balls to health items to TMs to held items, your vitamins, your X items, all this stuff. Even trainer stuff, you can get weapons and armor and things like that. Then it's got your different crafting kits to, if you want to make and craft Pokeballs, you need a Pokeball toolbox and things like that. So really, like, as you're designing your character, make sure you're looking in this section, what am I going to need to fulfill the needs of my particular class? Chapter 10, then, we're going to go into, there's a whole section of, like, indices and reference. Basically, a lot of the other stuff in the book throughout different chapters is all kind of, like, put together right here. So you're going to want to read through this, like, as an example. So say your Pokemon has Nature Walk Grassland. This is what Nature Walk does, right? You look it up right there so you can have an idea. Write it on your paper or note down the page number. Talks about different abilities is what it goes into. It goes A through E. I guess so every Pokemon ability pretty much that's in the games that Pokemon have access to are right in here. And you're going to want to read through this and make sure you know what abilities your Pokemon have and what they do. Like as an example, right, if they have the ability Dark Art, the user gains Last Chance with Dark. Last Chance just gives bonus damage to Dark type moves. It's a little more nuanced than that, but you'll be able to read through it. Like Freezing Point, get Last Chance with Ice. If you have Frisk, right, the target reveals their type, ability, nature, and level. and the name of any hell items they're currently holding, which is pretty cool, right? Just like it does in the game. So page 337 is going to talk about moves. One of the big things to note is your frequency. So like the video games use like the PowerPoint, the PP system. So you get X amount of points, and you can use that ability as many times consecutively as you want until you're out of PP. This game doesn't use this. This game uses an at will. That means you can use it every turn if you want. Every other turn, you can use it a number of times per scene or a number of times per day. Now, the one note on the different vitamins is the PP up. Normally that in the games, it increases the amount of PP you have for that move. What this does, it improves the frequency by one level. Example, I've got a move, like as an example right here. So attack order is bug type. Frequency every other turn. If I put a PP up on this move, it now becomes at will. So now I can use it every turn. If you use it on a scene or a daily move, you just gain an additional use per scene or per day based on the ability, which is still pretty good. If you have a daily move that you can use twice, that's pretty good. Obviously, we're not going to dig way deep into the moves, right? You're just going to want to look through this. One of the things, take note here, 343, what the different types are: burst, cone, close blast, that kind of stuff. Lines, all this stuff. Like D&D, a lot of other games use different types of shapes, cones, and whatever. This just kind of shows you like visually what it looks like, so you know, which is pretty cool. So just like a couple examples of a move. I like fighting Pokemon. I always have, even when I was young. Like, I like Brick Break. I think Brick Break is a great ability. So obviously it's a fighting type move, so you're going to definitely want to notate the type of move, because that's going to go into the calculation for weaknesses and resistances based on your target. You have your frequency, so it's at will. The AC, the accuracy check is 2. So that means when I go to attack, I'm going to roll a d20. I need to roll at least a 2 to hit. So if I roll a 1, obviously I miss. Now, AC is then modified by the evasion stat of the target Pokemon, which when you go in and look at the rules and derive stats for Pokemon, it shows you how they gain physical, special, and speed evade. As an example, say I've got 3 speed evade. So now I need to roll at least a 5. So the 2 base plus the 3 evasion for my target to hit with this ability. It has a base damage of 8, so that rolls 2d8 plus 10. What the slash means here is a set damage. If you just want to use set damage, just take 19. If you want to roll it, my players like to roll it because we use it in roll 20, which automatically does it. Boom, 2d8. A note on stab. Those Pokemon players out there understand stab, probably. Same type attack bonus. If I'm a fighting type Pokemon, say Hitmonchan, using, say, Brick Break, if I'm the same type as the move that I'm using, I get plus 2 bonus to my base attack number. Not this, but this number. This base damage would then go to 10. You would then go to the reference sheet of what base damage 10 equation is. Then you would notate that on your sheet instead. All right, then we go to page 436. It's got a glossary of terms like a lot of other RPGs have. Everything is bolded. Everything's pretty concise in here. So this is one thing you could just kind of have. Either you can print it off if you're doing like physical copies of stuff, or if you're using, say, Roll20, you can just have the PDF open, or if GMs, you could just clip this, make a handout, hand it to your players so they can always reference it when they need it. Now it talks about running the game. This is kind of for like GMs. This you're really going to want to dig into. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. I've used a lot of the stuff in here in my game. One of the big things is obviously like designing my Pokemon League, or if you want to do an alternative to a league, you could do something else. Gives you some ideas there. Also, there's a section on boss battles. All right, so boss battles, page 487. I just actually introduced the first boss that my party fought last weekend. It was a Darmanitan in like a cave. It was guarding like a chest. It was like empowered by, some kind of like magic. You're like, magic? Pokemon? Technically Pokemon are like magical type creatures, so it's not out of the question, right? But it talks about like if you want to build a boss, like this is how you build it, and this is how you give it actions, initiative, hit points, all this stuff. If you want to do bosses, this is really cool. I like how it works. It makes them really tough, just like if you were playing, like a say World of Warcraft or an MMO, right? You fight a bunch of other Pokemon in the cave or the dungeon, and you get up to the boss, and it's really powerful. You use these things, but then you also give really good rewards, and it kind of gives you some ideas on how to handle that. Okay, then obviously at the end of the book, there is the character sheet. Page 1, page 2, and then it gives you a Pokemon sheet as well. A word of advice, I would use, honestly, Roll20. Even when me and my friends were meeting and playing together, like physically, I used Roll20. Everybody had their laptop or their tablet up. The Roll20 allows you to manage all of the sheets. There's a lot of bookwork in this. I've got 6 Pokemon off my belt. I've got 6 Pokemon sheets and my trainer sheet. And I've got 10 Pokemon in the PC or in the bank. I have 10 more sheets. You're going to have a file folder by the end of the game of all your Pokemon that you then also have to level and give XP and learn moves and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. A lot of bookwork. I suggest using Roll20 or whatever kind of online tabletop, virtual tabletop that you're using, okay? So that's like the end. That's the end of the book. 508 pages. I tried to go through pretty quick. So now we're going to take a minute. We're going to go back and I'm going to give you a summary of my thoughts, some of my pros, and some of my cons. All right, gamers. So we've gone over the book. I've touched on some of the key areas of the main core rulebook that I thought that you would be interested in. Try to give you some insights on things to look out for, things to definitely make sure you read and understand. I hope you were able to go to the website of the creators, download this, maybe kind of follow along so you can kind of see for yourself as we're going through this, some of the things that I'm talking about and get you really excited about playing the game. So now I just kind of want to do some pros and cons of this system. So we'll start with the pros. So obviously the first pro is, of course, it's Pokemon. If you love the games, if you've wanted a tabletop system that emulates the games pretty well, but then also gives you the freedom that the tabletop RPG genre gives you, I believe this is going to be the game for you. It's what drove me to it. My friends love it. Even though a couple of my friends are not like real big Pokemon fans, they do enjoy Pokemon. They've played the games every now and then, but they're having a lot of fun. So next point on pros would be the character creation freedom. Now, a lot of games give you a lot of creative control over your character and give you a lot of freedom on what you can do with it. But I believe this game is one of the ones that kind of stand out, that you can really just build whatever you want. Basically, you're given the ability to take whatever edges and features that you want, and you're really able to plan out your progression. Level 1 through 50. You can take up to the 4 classes and all the features in those classes if you meet the prerequisites. So you can really kind of build whatever you want. If you want to be like an aspiring gym leader that's also into Pokemon fossil restoration, you can do that. You want to be a Pokemon breeder that's into contests and maybe even you're like a martial artist on the side, you can do that. You want to be that ace trainer that really wants to catch them all and be the best trainer there is, along with repairing Pokeballs and growing berries. You can do that as well. You can make a support type character. You could be a medic and a caregiver that really help keep the Pokemon healthy throughout your adventures. The sky's the limit, really. And I think it's what's really, really good about the game. Like even in my game that I'm running, the players have all made widely different characters. Even though some of them have maybe taken some of the same features or even the same classes that others have, the choices and the decisions that they made during their characters has led to a good variety of character creation, and I think it's really healthy for the game. Then point 3 on pros, I want to talk about micromanagement. Now, a lot of people have an aversion to micromanagement. You're at work and the boss is micromanaging you. That's bad. But in this game, I believe that it's good because you're able to, once again, micromanage your character. You're just given different choices and selections at varying levels. You can make whatever decisions that you want. You can really build the character the way you want it. As long as you meet prerequisites and you're planning ahead, But then also you have all your Pokemon. Any of you competitive Pokemon players out there on the games understand the need for micromanagement of your Pokemon. Making sure your stats are where they want. You have the right nature. You're using your vitamins properly. You're teaching them the right moves. You're giving them the right held item. Eventually you're going to have, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50 Pokemon. Obviously you're not going to use them all. But you have the ability, if you wanted to micromanage all of them, where all their stat points are spent, everything, the moves you teach them, the TMs and the HMs, the tutor moves that you teach them. It really lets you control your characters and your Pokemon and play them the way that you want. You're not really locked in to any particular choice. Because you can also retrain as well. You make a mistake, there's a section on retraining, go back and check that out. You can spend some of your points and go back and change things if something isn't working out or you're not liking it. Obviously confer everything with your GM first before you make any decisions like that. But the ability to do that to that level, I think, is an amazing thing for this game. All right, so now I'm going to go into cons. So I talked about micromanagement there at the end of pros. We're also going to talk about micromanagement at the top of the cons. Some people may not like the need to micromanage everything. They like a more structured, I buy one class, I get these abilities, that kind of thing. So it may not be for everyone. But even if it's not, it doesn't mean you still can't have fun, right? You can kind of make like generic selections. Your GM is there to help you as well. There is a lot of micromanagement. If it's not your thing, if you don't like that in a game, then you're probably not going to particularly like this system, like in the long haul. In the beginning, it's not bad, but once you get late game, you've got a full belt of 6 Pokemon, you've got 10, 20 Pokemon in the bank that maybe you switch regularly to meet certain challenges and certain needs, right? You're going to have to make sure that everything is up to par and up to snuff on each of your Pokemons. You don't want to pull out some Pokemon that you haven't leveled or you haven't put work into, because it's going to get swept off the field. So you've got to really look at each of your Pokemon, understand its strengths and weaknesses, really have a good sense of where your character is going and the direction that your Pokemon are going to go to make sure that they're going to be the best that they can for the challenges that the GM is going to lay ahead of you. All right, so number 2 on the cons list, there's a lot to know and to remember. The book is 508 pages. There aren't a lot of core rule books like official products that are that big. Now, there are some, right? But there's not a ton. And most of the stuff in a lot of the books is not something you need to know. You don't need to know all of it. But with this system, like, there's a lot to know, like the equations on catching, like the benefits of your trainer level and what ball you're using. You're going to need to know, like, basically all the combat stuff. You're going to need like the type effectiveness chart. You need to make sure you understand that, because type effectiveness is a big thing in Pokemon, right? You can't throw your psychic type Pokemon up against a dark type Pokemon, right? Because dark type moves are super effective. You got to understand the matchups. You got to understand how different Pokemon interact and how the moves are going to interact, because there's some moves that help allied Pokemon, or you're using those effectively. Then just like the character creation as well, there's a lot to do there. And then there's a lot to understanding, because once you get later in the game, right, you're going to have 20 features and 20 edges. You got to remember what each of them do. Obviously, you have them notated on your character sheet, but sometimes it's easy. Even for myself, as I've been running, a Pokemon may have an ability or a trainer may have a feature, and I forget about it. I try to look through everything ahead of time during my preparation phase before game, but sometimes stuff just falls through the cracks. Don't let that discourage you, right? We all make mistakes, right? But you're going to want to make sure that you really know the nuts and bolts of how your character works, the basics of the game, type effectiveness. If you get that down, then you're gonna go pretty far. But then there's all the different items, TMs, inventory management, all that kind of stuff. If you're one of those people that really love like to get into the game and gain a lot of knowledge and know a lot of stuff and do a lot of reading and research and all this other stuff, this may be a game for you. But for some of you, it may not. And lastly, on the cons list, we're going to talk about bookkeeping. One of the things that when I originally ran this, I tried to do it pen and paper. Everybody had character sheets everywhere. Somebody would lose a character sheet for Pokemon or something, right? You've got a lot of sheets. You've got a lot of stuff that you have to keep track of. XP is split between multiple Pokemon. Understanding, having your trainer, making sure they're leveled up and everything. Make sure all your Pokemon are leveled up. Making sure you've got all the stuff that you need for the game. I would suggest an online source. I use Roll20. You can use whatever you want. It really makes it easy. Your GM is able to just create a character for you, the player, and then they can create individual character sheets for your Pokemon. They actually have a really good sheet in Roll20 for Pokemon Tabletop United, which does a lot of the calculations for you. And it's got the sections for all your moves. You just got to fill in all the stuff. But even then, you've still got a lot of bookkeeping to do. When something levels up, even when it evolves, you've got to do a lot of work. You got to reset the base stats, respend all your points, keeping in mind base stat relations. So obviously, lower stats can't be higher than higher stats in this game. Make sure all your Pokemon are like that and that nobody's gone over that base relation. Your character, like your trainer, doesn't need to follow the base relation, but there's just a lot to know. There is a lot to keep track of, and there's going to be, in the end, you're going to have a lot of character sheets. Just be ready for lots of bookkeeping in downtime or even like between scenes of a session. You're going to finish a quest. You're going to get a bunch of XP. You got to distribute that XP, do all your leveling, making sure all your stats are good. If you learn new moves, you got to look up the moves, get the move put in, understanding, the stab bonus on stuff. Does it get it? Does it not? Things like that. So if you like bookkeeping, this is a game for you. If you don't like bookkeeping, this may not be a game for you, but obviously talk with your GM. There may be ways that they can help you and ways to deal with that to make it a more enjoyable experience. All right, gamers, that's it. That's all I've got to say right now in this overview. I tried to keep it short. It's still relatively long, but there's a lot to talk about. I'm really excited about this game. I've been playing it for quite a while. It's super fun. I really suggest that you get in there, get it downloaded, read it, see if you've got players that are willing to play or find a group that are willing to play. And just get a game going, even if it's just like a one-off little, you start as a trainer, you got your one Pokemon, you go on just like a little adventure. I guarantee you're going to have a lot of fun with it, but you may not as well. It's one of those things you got to try it. Just like any other RPG, you got to try it, you got to look into it, see if you're going to like it. If you do, I definitely suggest you bring it to the table. Now, if you want me to do deeper dives into the aspects of this game, going over different aspects from character creation to creating Pokemon to Pokemon contests. If you want more videos in a series for Pokemon like this, a couple of things, right? So just comment down below if you want me to do more. If you want to see more in the series, if you want me to do like a character creation video with like an example, if you want me to maybe create a couple of starter Pokemon or some mid-level Pokemon and stat them up and really show you how I like to micromanage them, let me know and I'll try to put a series together as fast as I can with my schedule the way it is. Secondly, I want to do more live streams talking about games to get more interaction directly with you, my awesome subscribers. If you want to see more live streams, I've been thinking maybe doing like one a week where I do like game prep and we just get in there, we can talk about stuff, or I could do dedicated live streams about different games or topics or whatever. If you want to see something like that as well, comment down below. I would love to see your thoughts on that. But I think with that, that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really do. Like I said, leave all your comments down below. If you're really enjoying the content and you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Really help us out. I do want to say we are over 1,000 subscribers now. I want to thank all of you that have subbed. It's really great to see how far things have grown. I really want to be more regular. Just right now with work, I don't know. It's going in like the holiday season, things like that. So work has been really busy, very tiring. Honestly, with the state of the world that we're in right now, right, things are a little different. But I'm going to try to give you more content regularly. I'm still working on a schedule. I'm working on kind of like updating the quality of my content. I try to do a little something different in this video to make it a little different than what I've done before, make it a little more exciting. I mean, if you liked it, let me know. If you liked the way I did it before, let me know. Or if you have any suggestions of maybe how you would like to see videos done in the future, I could take those into consideration. But with that said, until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.